Will, thanks for joining us today. Digital transformation is a hot topic for many companies, whether it's the management team or the board of directors. So we're excited to have an opportunity to chat with you about your experiences and your perspective in this journey of digital transformation. So why don't we start first maybe with give us a little of your professional experiences that kind of line up and will facilitate some understanding of the conversation we're about to have.
No, great and excited to be here, Dennis. It's good to catch up again and look forward to the conversation. So I've spent my entire career in technology. I am a proud graduate of Texas A&M. I won't say what year, but I've been in technology 20 plus years. I've been with Grant Thornton for the last 15, 16 years, and I've really had the pleasure of working with a lot of our clients across pretty much every single industry on technology initiatives, managing risk, implementing transformational projects, and leveraging data for different sorts of initiatives and outcomes. But really, this concept of digital transformation is very unique to everybody, but it really boils down to some basic things that looking forward to sharing my experiences in the conversation.
Well, I'm sure you've got the Aggie faithful on the edge of their seats right now. You might have some of the Longhorns tone it out, and I can't speak for the Roll Tide crowd, but why don't buzzwords are one of the biggest challenges we have in the boardroom, and define a little bit, maybe in plain English, what is digital transformation? Kind of what is it and what isn't it? So we can kind of get everybody level set before we jump into the deeper conversation.
No, it's a great question, and one we're asked often is, usually it's over a lunch or introduction of what exactly does digital transformation mean, right? And so essentially it can mean a lot of different things in execution to different organizations, but ultimately it boils down to really two things in my mind. One is revenue generation. Two is cost optimization. If it's not doing either one of those things for your business, it's probably not a transformational project. And that's very important to baseline, because it's not AI, it's not machine learning, it's not robotic process automation. It's not those are tools to deliver those ultimate end goals of revenue generation and cost optimization. So setting that context is really important, because oftentimes a lot of clients look for a silver bullet or looking to latch on the latest technology, which is great and it's exciting because they are great, fantastic tools. But ultimately, it's got to drive that business case for your organization.
Got it. Thanks for that. So let's jump in and talk about seizing the opportunity that digital transformation affords companies. So how does digital transformation contribute either to growth, and you use the term revenue generation, or to adaptability, which maybe is my word for cost optimization that you talk about? So what are some of the things people are doing?
No, it's great to dive in and sort of double click on those topics. If you look at revenue generation or growth, it's about market share. It's about generating additional margin, right? It's about potentially opportunities. What we see a lot is organizations looking at their customer structure. How do we understand our customer and their buying habits better? How do we go and sell them more things that they're interested in and create profiles? It might be market share, where you're looking at developing a new product and you're leveraging new tools and new technology to deliver those to the market. We even have some organizations that are rich in data, and they're looking at monetizing their data and going out and selling it to the market as well. And all of those leverage some type of technology, some type of capability to deliver whatever those are. On the other side, you use the word adaptability, which is a great term, is automation. It's delivering, taking the individuals out of sort of mundane, repetitive tasks, and allowing them to be more creative and flourish for the organization in a new and different way that's exciting to them. And all of that adaptability, RPA, it could be new integrations of data and technology. It could be a new ERP system. It's leveraging technology to deliver that ultimate goal for the business.
So when I think about using a word like transformation, it means to
Mhm.
me something really significant, but it also means that there's a journey to it, right? Because you
Absolutely.
don't necessarily flip a switch for something that's transformational. So talk a little bit about how companies experiment with some of these tools or applications or interfaces with a customer, taking out, mundane tasks from people. And so start about that, and then segue us to how do you scale, right? Because experimenting is fun, and it's de-risk something that's significant, but until you scale it, you don't get the bang for the buck.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm an engineer at heart and started my career as a software engineer. So I very much take the scientific approach, and that experimentation is a great way to put it, because you come up with hypothesis, you come up with your use cases where you think there's opportunity to leverage technology to do something better, create something new. But you create that with that end in mind to say, here's our proof of concept. Here are the tools we're going to leverage. Here is our experiment, bubble, if you will, of what we're going to do. And let's see if our hypothesis is true. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but you're going to learn along that journey, and you're going to learn how you scale that to your point, scale that for the organization, because now you have a platform, now you have experience, now you have the tools, and now you have the skills internally to be able to take that to the next level. And you probably already gone through, as you identified the one use case for a proof of concept, you probably have 12, 15, 20 lined up right behind it that you can then start rolling and put the governance around that to prioritize them correctly. What is the biggest bang for our buck? Because it does take investment and it does take real dollars. How are we going to return those as quick as possible? And what's going to make the biggest impact on the organization? And so if you put that governance structure around the proof of concept with these use cases driving those business values, you start scaling it quickly and things start snowballing.
Will, you use the term governance, and that's the kind of the theme of the next part of this conversation. Managing risk is a responsibility of management, but it's really high on the short list of things that boards talk about. So, what are some of the potential risks and challenges of a digital transformation project?
So governance is a great term for it, and managing risk, because you have to, like any scientific experiment, proof of concept, you have to have controls around it. You have to have guide rails of not only what you want to achieve, which is what you're driving towards, but how do you keep it aligned to what the original vision was? That might be managing cost. That might be understanding new risks you're introducing to the organization if it is something new that you're doing, and also how you, not just point in time, but how you need to scale that governance with the transformation as well, because ultimately transformation means something new, right? And you've got to have some different controls and a different way of thinking every time you do something new.
When you think about managing risk, are there red flags that the board should be able to spot, indicating whether a company is on track, off track, going too fast, going too slow?
Absolutely. There's the traditional ones that everybody thinks about: cost management, project plan, milestones, this sort of just good hygiene for any sort of program or project. The one thing that is a little bit different about transformation is, and you would think it's technology, but it's really not. It's organizational change management, because it is something new that the organization is doing. How are we managing change? How are we engaging the groups of individuals that are going to be impacted by this, and how are we getting their buy-in? That's oftentimes where we see a lot of transformation projects fail. It's not a technology issue where the technology didn't work, or they couldn't be implemented correctly. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's that organizational change that people aren't along for the ride. It's just viewed as strictly a technology project. The other thing I would say is generally end-to-end integration and thinking about it holistically. While you put controls around what that proof of concept or experimentation is, it's going to impact a lot more in the organization than just what that business case or what that use case was. And thinking about the upstream and downstream implications, communicating that and planning for it, that's the other thing that the board should be asking those questions around. What are you doing for change management, and how are we understanding the overall impact of this technology to the organization?
Well, I think you touched on it, but let me put a finer point on it. What are some mechanisms that you see successful companies on these journeys doing in terms of the board participating, providing guidance, and if and when needed, making course corrections so that everybody's successful?
I think setting up that initial expectations in what that business case is, so everybody's aligned with, back to your point in the very first question, what is digital transformation? The board's going to have one thing in their mind from their experience. The team might have a different thing in mind. Setting that clear expectation right up front so everybody is on the same page is absolutely critical. And then going with your regular touch points of, here are the things we're going to report on, here are the metrics we're going to look at, here are the controls and the risks that we're worried about, tying that back to the overall enterprise risk to make sure that there aren't any gotchas or any blind spots that you've got later on. And then that regular cadence of, here's our progress here, in clear and honest communication. And it's nothing that's probably surprising to anybody to hear, but setting that expectations, back to your very first question, what is this project? What is this digital transformation? What are we trying to do? Is absolutely critical.
So maybe give some advice or help create a cheat sheet for directors, right? I frequently hear my director colleagues saying, tell me the three questions that I ought to ask to make sure I'm doing my job, I'm engaged in the process. So maybe if you could help create a cheat sheet for directors, what would be on your list?
I would say the three things. One, what is this technology? What is this transformation set to accomplish? Clearly set that expectation. Two, how is the team, how is the organization, how is the program, project, whatever it might be, handling organizational change? And three, how are we understanding the impact of this technology end to end, and how are we going to scale it? Those would be the three questions that I would ask every single time.
Great advice, Will. I personally learned something today. I appreciate you being with us today and look forward to sharing this information with the director community.
It's been great. Appreciate the opportunity to chat.